the motherfucking intro. I'm just trying to get that money like 1-0-0-0-0-0-0-0-0-0. I'm here with Gino.
Hey, Danger, coming with them bangers. Tell me where my paper. Still on the same mission, trying to live major. Don't hate me, hate the game. I'm a player. Feeling like Pac. Represent on my block. Try to knock me down, but I come up on top. Yeah, they wanna see me flop. Got a plot, want a lot. I won't stop on my pops. Got so many flows, it's insane. They don't really understand the game. Got a plan and it's plain, I ain't playing. I'm just trying to gain. I wanna get that big bag, need that big Rex. Blow up Tic Tac, where the blue cheese at? I don't give a fuck about your feedback. Eat that, get back, sit back, watch me spit that kickback. Got so many flows, yeah, they think that I'm insane. Ghetto kids in a lot of pain, all about the bills, ain't shit changed. Danger, coming with them bangers. Tell me where my paper. Still on the same mission, trying to live major. Don't hate me, hate the game, I'm a player. If you a hater, I don't hate you. I'm just really happy that I ain't you. I just wanna thank you. You kept me motivated, so now I motivate you. There's a lot of cake, money on my mind like a banker. Coming through with them bangers, ain't no room for mistakes. Lot of stake, hustle till we get a lot of rooms, lot of stakes. Good kid, but I keep it gangsta. All gas, no brakes. Got cash for the case. More cash in the case. More cash in the safe. More cash on the way. Hustling all day. Ay. Danger, coming with them bangers. Tell me where my paper. Still on the same mission, trying to live major. Don't hate me, hate the game. I'm a player.
Danger, coming with them bangers. Where my fucking paper.
Said I'm taking big shots, just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. They been trying to get me cheap like a thrift shop, but I told them it's my time, shit a wristwatch. They been talking way before they even doing something. Whoa. If they wanna play, let's get a tip off. Ain't no silver lining, dawg, this some rose gold. Getting new money, I'm a old soul. Yeah, I get it bouncing like a pogo. Whoa. And I'm too cold like Frozone. And my chick elastic, girl. Told him we ain't in the faking, this ain't plastic, girl. Bought a new whip and cash, now my tax is thorough. Way I'm shooting like step, but my pass is bro. The way I'm playing the field, I'm in a league of my own. And now they all in they fields, I got them all on my phone. But dog, I'm hitting the climb, I got no time on the low. Way I'm shooting is messy, the way I'm hitting the goals. I'm taking big shots, just stop. Way I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. I just left, but you know I'm coming back though. Whoa. And you know I don't play by my rags though. Now go and turn it up to the max, whoa. Send a paper to me now like a fax, whoa. Yeah. Got 2 phones ringing off the hook now. When I'm in the city, I get looks now. I was going bad, but I'm good now. Said I had to go and put my foot down. Told him I'ma get it and go. Even in the summer, man, they knowing I'm cold. I got a couple checks coming that I made out the flows. Might get a couple more popping if I do it some more. I gotta do it for real. Said I'm back in my bag. All my digits are climbing just like they all on a dash. And they tell me slow down, cause dog, I'm moving too fast. Might go and cop me a Tesla, cause dog, I still got a gas. Said I'm taking big shots, just stop. Where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop, where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like. Yeah, you about to see me on demand like. You know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't ever going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on the road. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, at the top of the class on the road. Ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on the road. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, at the top of the class on the road. Ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go. On the road, here we go.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Frankie Candles live stream. And Bitcoin starting to get a little pullback here from our key level of resistance, the 2 daily naked points of controls, sitting between $72,600 and $73,425. And we are sitting in a short position here, guys, not FOMOing into the longs, but fading that move back to the downside. But the question is, guys, after this pullback, we had that 10-hour money flow coming into the green. Are we going to be able to see that trend continue to the upside, or are we going to get a big drop down? Somebody in the chat said 49 or 40K, 59K. Are we going to get the big drop down? Vote in the poll here. It looks to be about 50-50 here, 80K versus 59K incoming to take out those lows. But I'm going to talk to you guys about what I'm looking at. Obviously, we do have some money flow coming up on the higher time frames. I'll walk you through all the key levels and kind of my trading plan here as far as the longs and the shorts. The key levels to bounce off of, reject off of, all that good stuff. So shout out to the CandleMafia. Welcome in. Shout out to Dazaman says, dump it. We'll see. We'll talk about kind of the probabilities of that. We got Olgar in the chat. What is going on? Said, what is keeping BTC in midair right now? It's all red. Shout out to Olgar, but we're going to cover that for you, bro. We got H-Bar Moon Boy in the chat. Welcome in. We got Gen Z. We got Skizzle. Said, holy shit. Let's go, Frankie. Shout out to Skizzle. Welcome in. Shout out to Perry. Says, salut, Frankie. Shout out to Perry. Welcome in. What's up, Frankie? Shout out to Wayne. Welcome in, bro. What are you guys thinking? Pump it? Dump it? Let me know in the chat. Okay, we got polls moving up a little bit more. Oh, God, it's like 50-50 here. 51% 80K. 52% 80K. Come on, guys. If you all vote 80K, it will pump. That's kind of how it works. The Frankie Candles live stream polls do control the price. But without further ado, guys, we got a lot to look at here on the chart. So let's go ahead and jump on into the chart. Here we go. Are you in a trade? Shout out to Imi. Yes, I am short here. We actually talked about this kind of exact situation on the live stream, kind of sitting out of the early short positions. Very similar to the, I'll show that trade in just a second, but kind of similar to the situation here, right? We saw all the shorts kind of getting really aggressive on this move, potentially giving us a little bit of a squeeze higher. We then took the short at the high there for the ride back to the downside. Kind of similar here, right? We came up to kind of our first level here, which was near the value area high of the range. We kind of didn't get the rejection, saw the shorts coming in. We squeezed higher. But of course, like kind of as you guys know, over the past, I mean, really ever since we came up here, right? These 2 daily MPOCs are really, at first we were looking at this 1 daily MPOC, but I did mark another one off here from Exo Charts. This was kind of the next major level that I was interested in for a short, right? When we pull up our volume profile here, typically within the volume profile, we're looking for longs at the lows, shorts at the highs. And of course, always interested at the shorts at the value area high, but, clearly zero reaction there. We have to wait for those confirmations. We did not get the confirmations. We melted right through the level, and really the bigger area of interest, right, for the longs and the shorts, in my opinion, were either going to be up here towards that daily MPOC starting at 72.6, or, and a lot of you guys will be like, yes, we've heard about that level 1,000 times because we've been waiting for it forever, right? Up here, oh my God, daily MPOC. Oh my God, daily MPOC. Oh my God, daily MPOC. Didn't stop us from taking the shorts from the value area high. But of course, this was kind of the bigger level of interest. And for the long positions, the key level was sitting down here towards the weekly, monthly, weekly level, or weekly horizontal, weekly MPOC, monthly MPOC. So it's kind of like when we look at this as an overall range from the highs here to the lows, it's like, well, we could come up, fake out the high, or come down and fake out the low, right? So for like the bigger trades, I was really interested in this level and this level, right? I've been waiting for that level for quite some time. And, I'll cover this, right? It's kind of all sounds really bearish, but just to kind of explain why we were looking at that level for a short position, we were looking for some kind of a failed auction type setup where we kind of come up here. Someone was talking about yesterday in the live stream, shouldn't we just come, if we're holding above these levels, doesn't it mean we're just going to kind of blow to the upside? Not necessarily, right? For a failed auction, you kind of attempt to kind of hold support, try to break out, and then eventually you do end up losing the resistance or losing, I guess, the resistance that turned into support, and then getting the bigger move to the downside. So I am holding the short here. Over on Femex, up about almost $2,400. So, yes, we did take that short. And again, I was trying to tell everybody in the Discord, anytime we get a move up or something, anyone who misses a move to the upside or a move to the downside, either way, right? Like, anytime we get some kind of a big move, I know for a fact that FOMO, we talked about this yesterday, is hitting people heavy. And I try to explain to the best of my abilities why I told the Mafia yesterday, to me, right, I'm not going to chase along here. We were looking for the failed auction setup. I entered that trade personally, letting them know kind of the reasoning there, kind of what we would be targeting. Let me see. Do I have this sitting up here? Right. So kind of the first major target is the zone that we looked at yesterday, which does sit here between about 70,500 down to about 69.5. So that's kind of the first target. And I'll walk you guys kind of through the plan for this at this point. But I told them, it's for me personally, it's like we're either going to see the failed auction set up, and like a lot of these local levels, we did have some scalp levels in here that did end up holding up. But of course, right, viewing those as scalps, I'm not going to bring up the post and read through it directly. But we did have some scalp levels here. We had a golden pocket that we got a little bounce off of. We got a beautiful bounce off that 786 for a lower high and a lower low. One of the things that we were looking at here was the 4-hour red dot printing, or looking to print at the time, right? We had that 4-hour red dot printing, and then we also had our 15-minute money flow crossover into the red, which does indicate that the trend is likely to continue down. You get the low, the lower high, and the lower low. So really beautiful there, but we're approaching our first major target, right? So we had these kind of local levels, but for me, these kind of just felt like FOMO longs. I would much rather see a bigger continuation to the downside. I'd need some kind of a bigger pullback to find some kind of significant long position, although it did offer some nice scalp bounces. This was at like 3:30 a.m., so obviously I did not take that. But we had the levels there, and I don't know if anybody took the trades, but nice to see those respected. But of course, right, viewing them as scalps for continuations down, we had the 4-hour red dot looking to print. We had the 5-hour red dot looking to print, the 8-hour red dot looking to print, and we'll get to these higher time frames in a second, because I know right now the question is, obviously two scenarios here. Is the top in for now, and are we going to come down and break the lows at 59K, or don't get too scared, guys. We're going to cover what I'm looking at. Or are we going to eventually put in the higher low and the higher high? And I'll cover that situation in just a second. But that was kind of the thought process there. A little bit of a failed auction. Also kind of looking at this as an SFP, explaining to the Discord kind of like this would look like an SFP on a higher time frame, but on a lower time frame, it would look something like a failed auction, right? You kind of wiggle around, and then you wind up losing the resistance and getting the drop to the downside. So right now, that's I'm obviously still holding my shorts from 98K and 91K, but that's the one short that I'm in right now, at least the new trade. And at this point, right, the key levels, are we going to get the continuation up? Are we going to get the drop to the downside? And this is kind of my personal plan moving forward. Number one, right, obviously we covered this key level yesterday, sitting between 70,534 and 69,569. We have the value area high. We also have some Fibonacci levels in there on top of some single prints. Where are they at? Right, we do have some single prints down here. So one thing I will say is if we can come down, let me pull the golden pocket here real quick. Bada boom, right? And again, this is the same level that we looked at yesterday, trying to see this stuff before it happens, because when we look at the higher time frames, right, one of the big signals that we looked at to see if we were going to get the breakout of this range to the upside before getting a bigger move down was the fact that we had this 10-hour money flow crossing into the green with our weekly green dot printing, right? That's a market cipher B 1/16th bullish setup, which does indicate, right, money flow does indicate the overall trend. It does not indicate the ebbs and the flows, right? It indicates the overall trend. So when we talked about this yesterday, if we got a rejection here, kind of the idea was that, if we do come down, what are going to be those key levels that I'll be looking at if we want to try to catch some long positions for a higher low and a higher high to come in. And we all know about this low volume gap that we have sitting here, which of course we did kind of fake out on, and there's no problem with that, right? Because we had the resistance. We looked to take that trade. It doesn't mean that we're not going to fill this necessarily, but as we look to come down here, this 10-hour money flow stays in the green. We could look for higher lows and higher highs. So that big first area of interest for me is going to be this golden pocket. Again, once we break into those single prints, I'm not going to explain these in full, but essentially these are kind of similar to low volume gaps where if you do break into them, right, they do tend to fill very quickly. And when we pull up that Fibonacci retracement, right, we could fill those single prints directly into the golden pocket, which is, of course, part of that support zone. So this is kind of just very simply the first level of support, right? And then just looking at it from a volume profile perspective, it would be like a very, very clean, this is what I talked about yesterday, right? This would just be like a really clean range back test, higher low on the golden pocket, and then you get the higher high potentially finally actually getting accepted into this low volume gap where we all know there is not a ton of resistance above. We do have a couple of levels in here, but at the end of the day, this massive low volume gap does lead us pretty much up to about $80,000 locally, $78,000 to $80,000 into this major golden pocket. So this is kind of level number one. Major target for the short position, and then also an area of interest for some kind of a significant bounce to come in. And then of course, right, like I have to go over the bearish case as well, guys. That's kind of what I want to talk about today, right? Like, are we going to see the continuation of the uptrend, and like kind of where can we kind of write off that scenario, right? Where do we stop looking for higher lows and higher highs? Number one, right, this would be like the most beautiful place to bounce. Now, technically, we are coming into some structural support here. We have front run the level a little bit, tapped into that previous high from back here in February. It's support. I would really prefer to see that golden pocket tapped. Listen, sometimes levels front run. I don't know. If this comes back up, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, this is going to be the bigger key level I'll be waiting for. And then, of course, as within any volume profile, I kind of want to not confuse you guys with all this, like, watch this exact, minor key level. Kind of want to keep it nice and easy here. Get the single prints off the chart. We got the value area high, the POC, and the value area low. Area of interest number one, essentially the value area high. That's opportunity number one for the bounce. If we get accepted into the range, of course, we can look to hold that short position down to the point of control. The point of control is always going to be an area of interest for me. However, with the confluence that we have down here on the value area low and the fact that I do prefer to take longs at the value area low, I am always going to be more interested in the value area low rather than the POC. That doesn't mean if I don't see signs here to take a long, I won't take it. But essentially, right, level number one, value area high. If we lose that, very simple plan here. High probability, right, especially if we have money flow coming out. We'll take a look at that in a second. POC would be very likely next, right? Maybe we get a little support there. If we end up losing the value POC, I'll be looking down to the value area low where we also have this 786 Fibonacci retracement, and we also, I believe, have a daily level down there. So this would be kind of area number two, right? And of course, it's going to be a zone. You can wick below the 786, but essentially the area that you want to hold is going to be that value area low, 786. Now, a couple different ways this can play out, right? You're either going to get the exact bounce off the value area low, or you're going to kind of deviate below, get back up, reclaim. Once you get the reclaim, if you have your confluence with the money flow coming up on the lower time frames, you can look for the trend to continue up. And then you have the simple plan of going to the POC, flipping that POC, going to the value area high. And then in this particular scenario with our high time frame money flow on the 10-hour trying to cross into the green, this would also be a valid higher low area, right? You have the low, the higher low, and then a potential higher high. This is kind of the three major levels, right? You have 70,000. The value area high sits at about 70,113. The POC sits at $68,000. And then the value area low confluence down here with these three levels sits at about 65.7 to call it 65K. Those are the three major levels. Once we lose the 786, guys, the short position may end up turning into a bit of a swing, right? So I'll actually pull up the short position. So right now, right, if we can hit this local target, that would be really nice. Again, if we just bounce off this structural support, we get the fresh 10-hour red dot printing, and I'll show you kind of why I'm willing to kind of hold this. But this would be target number one. Once we get in here, I'll look to ride that down to the POC. And then, of course, if we get below the POC, we can look to go down towards the low. Once we end up losing that value area low, and we cannot reclaim, right? This could eventually turn into a bigger swing trade, which, to be honest, if I close this entire trade at the value area low and this continued to dump, I wouldn't really care because I'm, of course, still holding my bigger short positions up at $98,000 and $91,000. So I'm kind of covered here. I could close this trade right now and be happy with the $2,500. But if we lose that value area low, right, 786, 65K, you can't hold 65K. I'm going to be looking for the bigger drop down, probably to take out this low at $59,000. Now, yes, price can go up, price can go down. The bias for me personally, based off our money flow, is I am open, right? And this is why I want to go over my trading plan, because a lot of people will say, is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? All I can do with you is share my plan and how I make money trading these markets while not necessarily knowing 100% if you're going to get the higher or low or not. I would say the bias here, based off the higher time frames, 10-hour money flow cross into the green, just the idea that things have been very, very bearish down here, a lot of low volume gap above us, right? Could be a very, very aggressive move to the upside. I am interested in looking for higher lows and higher highs, right? Money flow indicates the overall trend, even if it's not going to last long. 10-hour money flow crosses into the cross into the green. 10-hour money flow crosses into the green right here. Oh my God, move up. What is the bias there? The bias there is on the pullback. You're looking for higher lows and higher highs. You have, we'll just call the local low, the high, the higher low, the higher high, right? The continuation of that uptrend indicated by your money flow. If we are in the same situation, and we are in the same situation right now, does that have to play out? Not necessarily, right? As I've explained, in a bear market, money flow does like to spend a lot more time in the red than the green. So, but again, right, I'm still covered with my shorts from higher. So for my personal plan, it doesn't really, it won't make a difference. But that's why I'm looking for potential bounces, right? Like you could even see here, you wiggle around. Oh my God, money flow crosses green, higher, low, higher, high, right? Not really, right? You kind of just come back into the red. But and I'll go over the higher time frames as well, guys. Like this is not where I am getting overly bearish, right? I've covered this so many times on the channel. 2026 bottom watch. In my opinion, guys, I've covered kind of the two scenarios, the more bullish scenario, the more bearish scenario. In my personal opinion, I've been in this market for this is my third cycle, right? And I'll go over some of the exact signals that I'm looking at. In my opinion, a lot of this pain is behind us, and we've kind of talked about the idea of like either the bottom already being in, or maybe we have one more drop to the downside to potentially print the very specific signals that we talked about, which is going to be daily bullish divergences and, kind of more cleanly a potential 2-day bullish divergence, right? So this is not where I am necessarily looking for giga shorts down to 30K. Can you go to 30K? Technically, yes, right? But we have massive support underneath us. And again, I'll go over the weekly time frame with you and show you kind of why I'm not necessarily looking at this as like, I think a lot of people are looking at this as like, we're finally in a bear market. This is the beginning of the bear market. You kind of have to control that psychological view. You don't want to be a late bear. You don't want to be, an early, I guess you want to be an early bull. You don't want to be too early of a bull, and you don't want to be too late of a bear. So, again, I do want to reiterate that, right? Because like we've covered how big of a support this level is down here. We have the macro value area high. We've already come down and retested the previous all-time high, which we don't typically dip too far below. And I'll cover that situation in a minute. But at the end of the day, right, like if we did get that drop down, I am all eyes on these higher time frames. If we end up coming down, right, red dot prints on the 2-day, we get a 2-day bullish divergence. At that point, guys, I will have good reason to be looking at this as a very significant bottom. I can't guarantee that the bottom's not in here already. But if we were to see that bearish scenario, just to have you prepared, if we see this form, you are going to see me start talking about bottom might be in. Right? And of course, I can't guarantee you that. You can't just listen to somebody on YouTube. I've been wrong before. I mean, we were right about the last bear market, but I can be wrong, right? But I'm only sharing with you what I'm doing, what I personally look at, right? I don't look at some secret stuff for my decisions and then only share some of it with you guys. This is exactly what I'll be looking for. We've talked about this range down here being a decent DCA area. Doesn't mean the bottom is necessarily in guaranteed, but of course, like if we get another drop to the downside, I do think, if we are not in for the bottom, I don't know how much lower we're really going to go. And we'll cover it, right? Maybe we come down here, it looks super bearish, in which case I'll have to change my bias, right? But if we see this, right, I will have no option, just like over here. Can we go lower? Yes, right? But I have massive bullish divergences on the daily. I have money flow coming up. I have to look for higher highs, and we end up getting it, right? So it's going to be the same situation down here. It's binary for me. It's if I see the signals on the chart, and it's easy for me to kind of have a strong bias, I will. Right now, we don't have the confirmations. It doesn't mean the bottom can't be in. We've covered the 2015 situation where we did not get any bullish divergences. You don't necessarily have to have that happen, but I am a little bit suspicious of it, right? Because a lot of times, if you get those weekly bullish divergences, it can be very, very clean, right? Like right here. Like it doesn't get any cleaner than this, right? There's your weekly bull divs. Very strong bottom signal. You start coming up. Your money flow starts cooking to the upside. Bottom's very likely in at that point, right? And I was obviously talking to the Mafia about DCAing in this zone down here. And then, of course, perfectly positioned for the bull market. So I don't want to get too caught up in the higher time frames. But, for my plan right now, if we get the continuation through that profile, 786 to 65K is going to be the line in the sand. And then if we dump there, right, it's not, oh my God, 30K incoming necessarily just yet, right? I'll be looking down here, massive support. You have your 2021 value area sitting there, right? I will be very interested in longs down there. Where's the 2021 volume profile? Where are we at? Here it is, right? Retest the value area high of that range. And then, of course, we start losing the POC, then that will be a different situation. But especially right now, if we got that bigger drop down, guys, we are in a perfect situation to form a lot of those high time frame bullish signals. So we'll see. I'll cover it with you guys live as the price action develops if we end up getting that. But if not, right, we could, in the bullish case, and as of right now with the 10-hour money flow coming up, I have to be open to higher lows and higher highs, right? And I already marked out those levels, but just very simply, I would say 70,500 to 69. Let me actually just pull up the actual level, right? Sitting here between 70,534, 69,569. Lose that. Looking down to the POC. It's an honorable mention level, but I do prefer the confluence down here at the value area low. And in my opinion, that will be the last place to bounce. So there you go. That's what I'm looking at. And I'll also kind of, we'll take a look at these higher time frames. But before we do that, of course, if we do end up, if we get the higher low here, right, we start pushing up, break these highs, low volume gap, I would say the next big area to look at is going to be about 78, 79K, right? Above that, you have the $80,000 daily MPOC, almost $81,000 MPOC. This zone does sit between, let me actually just extend this box down here to the daily, 78, 623 to about $81,000. Low volume could be a fast move up, right? We came to play around with it. We got the fake out. We shorted that sucker, right? We get the higher low and the higher high. Well, if I'm going to put a higher high in here, I'm expecting to break this. Well, it's very likely that we're going to get accepted into that low volume gap. And that could be a very nice move. This is kind of this would be my preferred scenario, right? Very clean higher low on your Fibonacci retracement, range high back test, and then on that higher high, you have this open road to just send it. We'll see what happens, right? I can't guarantee it's going to play out exactly like that. You do have a little bit of turbulence in here. We have a little bit of a local profile. I'm not going to focus too much on this. These are local levels. But you do have a little bit of a profile in here. You might kind of bing-bong around. But at the end of the day, you pull up that volume profile. Pretty low volume gap, right? Get back above this node. Pretty low resistance up into 78.6. And then get above that. 80K, and then of course, right, when we look at it from a much higher time frame perspective and we kind of zoom out here and look at the volume, at the end of the day, right, come on, volume. This low volume gap could even bring you up to 84 to 87,000, right? But you can see that kind of little peak in volume right here at around 80,000, 79, 80K. You have the shelf at 81K. You have the high volume node at 79. So, I would kind of see this, this is a massively open gap, right? And then right here, you have a little peak, a little shelf. This is going to offer some resistance. And then the next high volume nodes, which do act as magnets for price, next high volume node sits at about 84, and above that, $87,000. In which case, we'll just look at this from a simple volume profile perspective, right? I cover this almost every day. You have your hide the gap, hide this, right? Because we can make money, right? Clearly, we can make money on these local levels, so I like to bring them up because I know we have a lot of traders in here, as this is a trading channel. But, just for anyone here for the long term, it's like pretty low volume into that $81,000 zone, right? And then that next high volume area is 87K, right? And then when we look at that from a volume profile perspective, where's our value at? We have value right here. We have value essentially right here, right? Break out of this value area, right? That's not what I wanted to do. Break out of this value area. Next place for price to likely go. And again, you could kind of just see that open road long term. Of course, there's going to be ebbs and flows in between, but open road to approach that value area low, right? When price leaves an area of value, it has a very high probability of seeking out previous value. It's exactly the same thing that it was on the way down, right? Value area number 1. This is how we were able to identify this drop to the downside and make a ton of money on the shorts. We knew once we lost this, we would very likely impulse. Where's price likely to stop off at? The next area of value. Once you break into that low volume gap, price is like, oh my God, I have no home. Where's the shelter? It's on that high volume node. Price gravitates right to that. And honestly, even though we don't have the bullish divergences, I do have to say, the fact that we got the bottom here directly on the value area low, like literally to the dollar, this is kind of wild. Let me pull up the... Right. Literally, the price comes into the profile and literally taps that value area low to the tick. Fulfill the profile, right? So we'll see what happens. Locally, 10-hour money flow coming up. Be aware of that low volume gap above. You have the key levels to the downside that I'll be interested in. And, when we look at these higher time frames, right, but like we have the 12-hour red dot looking to print, 16-hour red dot looking to, or 16-hour red dot now printing. That just popped up. When we look at the 1-hour money flow with the 16-hour red dot, 1-hour money flow is attempting to come down into the red. 45-minute money flow is already starting to cross over into the red, right? So that could give you the idea of a continuation of the local downtrend, right? But overall, with the high time frame money flow, higher lows and higher highs could be in store. Who knows? Maybe we get it from here, right? I'm not long from here, but anything can happen. But I, of course, always like to wait for those key levels, right? It's the same thing I always say, guys. Like, I can't say up here, right? People all like, I want a FOMO, right? Like, listen, could you FOMO here and make money? Yes. And I told the Discord yesterday, like, the longs up here just are too FOMO for me. It's looking like we could come down with the money flow coming out on the 15-minute with the 4-hour red dot. For me personally, if it goes up, it goes up. I used to be in a toxic relationship with FOMO, and she hurt me. She hurt me bad, guys. She hurt my heart. And funny enough, she hurt my bank account. So I'm glad I'm out of that relationship. If it went up, I'll just let it go. I just don't let it bother me. It's all noise. Oh my God, you're gonna miss the big move up. You're gonna miss the big move up. It's like, number one, it doesn't matter. I'll catch another trade. Number two, it's like, more often than not, she will hurt you. She might give you a hug or a kiss on the cheek once in a while, but more often than not, she's going to smack you in the face. It took me years to learn that. Try to explain that on the live stream and in the premium Discord last night. Like, listen, guys, here's some local levels. Could you continue up from here? Maybe. I'm not interested. Could you continue up from the scalp levels? Maybe. But even on these scalp levels where we got that beautiful bounce right here, even telling the Discord, right, I would treat those as scalps until proven otherwise. If it wanted to go up from here, great, right? Anything is possible. But for me, I like to wait for those, bigger pullbacks for a long. And in this case, it's like, could we come up from here? Sure. I prefer to see the golden pocket. I'm going to be right about that sometimes. I'm going to be wrong about that sometimes. I'll be right about it more than I'm wrong about it. But, a lot of people will be like, what happened? We didn't hit the key level. It's like sometimes you bounce and you front run the key level. But for me, over time, it has always paid off more for me to just wait for the key level, or in this case, wait for a bigger pullback. I'm glad I don't take FOMO longs up here. And of course, it took me a long time to learn that lesson. So that's what I'm looking at. As far as the local moves, taking a look at the 4-hour time frame, right? 4-hour money flow in the green as well. So this will kind of be the same thing, right? Pullback, higher low, higher highs. And then, of course, if we break down, you guys have the exact plan of what I'll be looking for on the way down, and you have the line in the sand in the case of, maybe if the top is in, right, again, money flow is not pointing towards that, but anything can happen. If that is the case, well, short will absolutely cook. Shorts from higher will continue to cook, and we'll wait for those next big key levels. So we'll see what happens. Let me jump on into the chat here real quick. Shout out to It's Happening. It's happening. Oh, my God. Shout out to you, brother. Thank you for the super chat. Says, thank you for everything you do. It is truly appreciated. Shout out to It's Happening. No problemo, brother. I'm not leaving. Nobody can get me out of here. I'm just doing what I love, bro. And shout out to It's Happening. You've been here for a long time supporter. I appreciate you, and I'm glad that what we do here is able to help you out in any kind of way. Shout out to Blah. Says, SOS got premium yesterday and got removed today. SOS. Shout out to Blah. Interesting. I assume that's a mistake, unless you went in there and started acting up like crazy. I don't think we've really ever removed anybody from the premium live stream. There's probably a mistake. Tony D is actually Tony's not working today. Tony has a bunch of stuff to do, but I will pass that on to Tony. And as a matter of fact, bro, talk about customer service. I'll let him know right now. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll try to help you out with that, brother. Your SOS, your smoke signal, has been received. Let's see. Shout out to Panda Profit. What is going on? Welcome in. Am I a poker player? Shout out to it's Old You So, I think is. All right, guys, that's all we got for today's live stream. It's Old You So. It's Old You So. Shout out to I Told You So. Says, are you a poker player? I mean, I like to play poker. I'm not. I wouldn't enter a competition. But poker's fun. I like to play poker. I used to work at a pizza place. Well, that's what they said it was. But they used to have card games I used to play a lot. But I wouldn't classify myself as an amazing poker player. But I do like it. It is fun. Are we going to get a clean 15-minute bull div into 70K? That would be nice. We already did get a little bit of a bullish divergence front-running the level right here. Lower lows, higher lows. But when we come up on here to the 30-minute, right, money flow coming out, it would be nice to let this money flow play out a little bit. Maybe get something like this, right, a little pull back to the upside, and then another dip down deeper into the level for those bullish divergences. It's not perfectly set up here. It's not like it's about to print, but something I would definitely be keeping an eye on. And then, of course, right on the 15-minute, you could also get that as well. Just because you have this local div doesn't mean, this is kind of a wonky div, to be honest, right? If we did come down and dig into that level, could eventually turn into a 15-minute bull div. We'll have to see what happens. Now, for the move to the upside, let me I'll just pull these very simple levels for you guys, right? I'll just pull I don't know if you're going to get all the way up here. You could reject the local fib as well. But if we pull from the lower high to the low, right, this would be key resistance if we get a significant pullback from here for a potential lower high and lower low. I'd probably prefer a rejection from the more local level. This sits between about 72,383 and 72,900. Again, I'm not saying these are necessarily places where I would take trades, but if I'm just going to sit up here and try to do the impossible, which is call the exact moves, right? That would be kind of the bigger pullback zone, and then the earlier one would be sitting up here between about 72,194 and 72,400, right? Because again, if this 30-minute money flow is going to continue into the red, and we're going to continue that downtrend, right? Lower highs, lower lows would be the expectation, right? And those would be the two fibs I would look at, and then of course the line in the sand for a potential breakout would be breaking that 786 at 73.3, right? Crack out of there, hold it, right? Invalidation of the lower high. You could look to take out that previous high. So just some local levels. And again, not that you have to get the breakout there, right? You might just kind of bing bong around, right? Who knows? Hopefully we don't have to bing bong around here for too long. Hopefully we just kind of dig in and then send it. Yo, shout out to Tony D. Shout out to Blah. Looks like Tony D got your smoke signal too. Who needs Discord help? It's Blah in the chat. He said he sent a support ticket. So Tony probably get to that. Shout out to Blah. I'm sure Tony D will be on that ASAP. Shout out to Tony D. Why is your name? Do you have a membership now, Tony? Tony got a membership? I didn't know we could get memberships. His name is Blue. I've never seen it look like that. But shout out to Tony D. Poker parties with strippers are the best. I mean, I guess it's better than no strippers. Degenerate behavior. No, I'm just kidding. Shout out to Secrets said, it's a bear market, perma bear. Perma bulls are ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, listen, perma bulls, perma bears will all be ridiculous. But, we were bears. Fortunately money-wise, right? But unfortunately for me and my, people being happy with me on YouTube, we were bears up here. So, again, kind of that scenario where, this is kind of where people get late to the party, right? They're like, oh, my God, now we're in a bear market. Or it was pretty clear that 126K was likely the top. This is kind of where we started to question, like, hey, guys, we're going to get accepted into this profile with all the money flow coming out, all the bearish technical confirmations that we had. This could be the start of the bear market, right? No one wanted to hear that. Everybody started looking for higher lows and higher highs here. We obviously had reasons not to see that happen. We obviously shorted that sucker all the way down, made tons of money on that. And that is not to say that the bottom is necessarily in, right? But I do think, right, from a higher time frame perspective, I mean, we'll just go back to I'll just look at the cycle chart because it's on Bitstamp, right? At this point, anytime historically, not sometimes, not 1 out of 3 times, not 2 out of 3 times, every single time, when your weekly money flow crosses into the red, and it's not just the weekly money flow, I can show you this amongst many different indicators, many different confirmations, many different signals. It's just money flow is a very easy way to kind of show this. Anytime this money flow crosses into the red, you are much better off not starting to believe you're in a bear market, but kind of shifting those goggles, right? Like you want to start looking for the big dumps when everybody is actually bullish at the top, right? Then you get the big capitulation down. That's always been accompanied by weekly money flow crossing into the red, right? So when you look at this, let's just go back to 2015. Weekly money flow, crosses red right about here, right? That is where you're looking for weekly lower highs and lower lows. But what do you really see here? It's capitulation, one more big dump to the downside, right? So you're better off saying, oh my God, $11 incoming, or are you better off looking for potential bottoms to come in, right? If you started dollar cost averaging in here and continue to dollar cost average on your way down, your average entry price, obviously I don't know exactly where it would be. Let's say you buy a little here, you dump, you weighted dollar cost average, meaning you use a higher percentage of your capital as the dumps continue, and then you dollar cost average in, dollar cost average in, dollar cost average in. Your entry price would be somewhere up in here, right? This is a beautiful entry point to ride up into the bull market, right? And I always mark off the weekly money flow crossovers to kind of identify that, right? There's your weekly money flow crossover. There's your crossover into the green, right? This is historically, right? Not randomly, but historically, this is where you want to start looking for bottoms, right? I don't wait for the exact bottom. Like I don't wait for some magic indicator to tell me bottom's in, buy now. Right? I have to look at it from a long-term perspective, understand the psychology, understand the signals I'm looking for, understand how money flow behaves. Money flow crosses over into the red. You're much better starting to buy here than just holding on, waiting to bottom tick the low, right? This is how people go, oh, this is now a bear market. We're going to zero. We're going to zero. We're going to zero. It's like, it's so simple, right? It's like the psychology of the market. When everybody starts to get bearish, they're typically late. Let's go to 2018. Right? Weekly money flow crossover. I already have it marked off. What happens? Weekly money flow crossover. Well, you get the big capitulation. Weekly money flow crossover. Weekly big capitulation. Weekly money flow crossover into the red. You buy. Dollar cost average. I'm not telling you to do this. This is just what I've done. Dollar cost average, dollar cost average, dollar cost average. Right? Once money flow crosses into the green, typically the bottom's in. You wiggle around. You still the bottom's in, but you get obviously a black swan. I don't know what this would look like if we didn't have the black swan. But one thing we can say is that buying when that weekly money flow is in the red would have paid you out massively, right? Let's bring it to 2022. Weekly money flow crossover, big capitulation. Was the bottom in? No. But if you just look at it very simply, and I have a little bit of a specific way I like to do this, right? I don't buy as soon as the money flow crosses red. I see that crossover into the red, indicating a big capitulation is incoming, right? This is exactly how we called the dump to 59K, right? Weekly money flow crossover, lower highs, even money flow coming out before it crosses over, lower highs and lower lows are likely. What happens? Big capitulation. Is the bottom in? No. Is this a bad time to start looking for a bottom or just dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin? Historically, no. Money flow crosses over into the green again right here. It was a little bit of a fake out, but still marked the bottom. You would have entered in here. This is exactly what I did in 2022, right? Dollar cost average, dollar cost average, dollar cost average. When I make a new low here, I don't go, oh man, I bought too early, right? I just dollar cost average. And in this case, you had a beautiful weekly bullish divergence, which was exactly what we were looking for. I had targets between 12 and 14K. Those did not get hit, right? But that's not a problem because I'm not waiting for those targets to get hit. There's no guarantee they get hit. When I see that weekly bullish divergence, I'm saying, hey, this is a really nice bottom signal. The bottom could be in. I'm glad I've been dollar cost averaging in. And then I really was dollar cost averaging like up until about here. What happens? Buying the bottom of the bear market, beautifully positioned, right? Not wait. If I was waiting for 12 to 14K, I would have been thinking lower high, lower low, right? Oh, man. Oh, we're going to reject again. Oh, man. Now I got to start buying on the way up, right? You missed the bottom. So when I look at this in the same way, right? Weekly money flow starts coming out. Weekly money flow crosses into the red. Big capitulation. Does that mean the bottom's in 100%? No. But you are much better off. Again, I think don't miss the forest for the trees is kind of how I look at it for myself. Like, I don't care if I started buying in here and it goes a little bit lower, right? Because I'm just dollar cost averaging into the market. There's never been a case where the money flow crosses over, you get a big capitulation, and then you nuke another 80%. Right, down to 30K. So yes, this is a bear market, right? We have to understand that as well. There's cases where you can go down to $30,000, of course, but that's not my base case right now. I need to see specific losses of specific key levels, and I need to see specific bullish signals just invalidate, right? We don't have the bullish signals just yet, but let's assume if the bottom's in, right? Again, as we've been saying, not a bad time. Weekly money flow crossover, capitulation. This is the big reason. Why did I expect this to break down and not go to new all-time highs? A big reason for that was because I've been through these two scenarios, right? I wasn't looking at Market Cipher B back here, but I've seen, looking back at these scenarios, every weekly money flow crossover ends in a capitulation. If you start getting bearish after that capitulation, you're too late. Doesn't mean it doesn't go lower sometimes, but you're essentially, in the grand scheme of things, too late, right? Weekly money flow crossover, big capitulation. If you think the bear market is starting there, you were too late. Weekly money flow crossover, big capitulation. If you think the bear market is starting there, you're too late, right? So this is where it comes from. Could this just nuke down to 5K, 3K? Maybe. I don't know. But what I could use that information to my advantage in this current situation, weekly money flow crossover, big capitulation, right? This is not the place to think the bear market is starting, right? This is where I am shifting my mindset to, right, where do we look for the big capitulations? Up here. And we make a ton of money on it, right? And we also avoid round tripping the bags. But I don't have that same mindset that I had up here, down here. Doesn't mean I don't think it can go lower, right? We talk about this all the time. But this is where I am much more interested in looking for accumulation. I'm interested in dollar cost averaging. I'm interested in looking for a bottom to form. It doesn't mean the bottom's not in. It doesn't mean the bottom's in. But historically, 3 times in a row, if you had the mindset of now we're in a bear market, it's going to go down for a really long time, it's going to go down much more, you would be wrong. Maybe this time's different. There's a chance of that, right? Like, I'm not going to be right 100% of the time. Money flow is not going to be right 100% of the time. But again, historically, it's very difficult, right? And then if you just look at it from an indicator perspective, I'll use the Market Cipher B for an example, right? How much does your how long does your, I mean, look at the oversold momentum waves, right? Like this momentum wave currently is as oversold as it was in 2022, right? Doesn't mean that's the bottom, right? Because you were oversold here. You made a higher low. Even though this was a higher low, price still made another, went lower, right? So it doesn't mean that the bottom's in, but it just means, when you just look at it, when it comes to spot bags, I'm not interested in waiting for an exact level and then putting my whole bag in. I dollar cost average in. It's very difficult, right? It's the same thing with the tops, right? We want to look for the tops up here. And I didn't say, 126K hit, bear market's here. That's the top, right? There was nothing really. We just tapped the target, right? Now, we started to look at the bearish divergences. It wasn't until about 108K where we started to question that, right? And that's where I sold a lot of my Bitcoin. And obviously, the money flow wound up playing out, right? So I'm just kind of going with what history has done in the past, which has been, historically very profitable, but very oversold momentum waves. Very oversold momentum waves. Now, much more oversold back here in 2018. But, this was a different asset, much lower market cap, much more volatile, etc. And you could even look at it. We could look at it from, if you don't use Market Cipher, right, we can look at it from a RSI perspective. And this is why I do prefer the bullish divergences, because it actually gives you a discrepancy. But I mean, if you look at this on the RSI, right, you can't use the RSI and say, oh, you know, at least for me, like from a trading perspective, if it was as easy as just like waiting for it to be oversold, buying the exact level, and then waiting for it to go up and selling, I don't know, maybe you could do that. I remember thinking I figured everything out when I learned about the RSI back in the day. But you could see oversold RSI, right? This is historically, and just based off the RSI, not the start of a bear market, right? This is typically where you start to see the bottoms come in. Now, we had an oversold momentum wave here. Oversold RSI. Was this the bottom? No, right? But I'm not interested in bottom ticking the bottom here, right? Because what happens if you don't hit your target? Then you wind up buying on the way up. That's not what I want to do, right? This is not financial advice. I'm not telling you what to do, right? For all we know, right? Full disclosure, Bitcoin will go to zero. But I like to show the evidence, right? Oversold RSI. Is the bottom in? No. Were you better off looking for a bottom to form? Absolutely. RSI oversold. Was the bottom in? No. I think you made one more low here. Were you better off looking for a bottom than saying the bear market is starting? Yes. Oversold RSI. Maybe not quite, right? Well, you didn't cross the line, but I'll even be conservative, right? Really, this would be the oversold RSI, which did mark the bottom. You didn't have the divergence here. But, you know, we'll do both cases, right? Oversold RSI, was that the bottom? Technically. But even if it wasn't and you put in another low, would you be better off looking at this for the bear market to begin? Or would you be looking at this as accumulation, right? Well, obviously it'd be accumulation. Even if you look at it back here, right? You start to get oversold. Okay, maybe I'm interested in maybe buying some Bitcoin. At that point, one more capitulation down. Again, you're not putting your whole bag in here, right? Or I'm not putting my whole bag in here. Dollar cost average, right? You're not, again, trying to snipe the bottoms and the tops to the dollar is a fool's game. Trust me. Let's say, okay, RSI is starting to bottom out. And even here, right, you have like less history to look at. So like you're kind of in no man's land. You don't know what's going on. Now we have a lot more history to look at. But let's just say you start to dollar cost average. Let's say you put 50% of your bag in, right, which I wouldn't do. But let's just say you wait for the RSI to get oversold. You buy 50% of your bag right here. Then you get another dip. You buy 50% of your bag here, right? So split the difference. Entry number one, entry number two. Your entry price is like right here. Were you better off buying and looking for a bottom to form around here than just looking for the bear market to begin, right? I think a lot of people, when they have the idea that they're going to know when the bottom comes in. So they're just, why would I buy up here? If it's going to go down another $3, why wouldn't I just wait to that to buy? Well, are you going to buy? Are you going to know that's the bottom? Or when you get down there, you're going to be like, oh, I was right. The bear market's going to continue, and then you end up never buying, right? You have to fight that kind of psychology. So oversold RSI, and again, I wouldn't even really look at this. I would look at this, which was the bottom, right? And I'm just being super conservative by looking at this one. Oversold, better off looking for a bottom. Oversold, better off looking at a bottom. We're oversold. Is this where I would look for a massive start of the bear market? No. Maybe you could put in another low for sure, right? But if the RSI puts in a higher low, guess what? Just like on Market Cipher B, that would be a bullish divergence, which would be a bottom signal, not an indication that the start of the bear market is coming. When would you want to look for the start of a bear market? Well, a few different things, right? You would want to look for overbought RSIs, right? Or bearish divergences, right? Would this be the start of the bull market? No. Would this be the start of the bull market? No, right? You would be looking for a top. You could just flip it upside down. Right? If you're oversold here, are you looking for this? Oh my God, we're starting a bear market? No, you would start to look for accumulation. So that's just the way that I not financial advice, right? I'm not telling you to buy Bitcoin. You know, obviously I've been explicit about, my views and what I'm doing, but in my opinion, at least from an RSI market cipher perspective, this is much more a case where this is not where the bear market starts, right? This is much more, doesn't mean it can't go lower, right? But this is where you'd be much better off looking for accumulation. Like, say you go down to 40K, right? Like, you're better off looking for a bottom. If Bitcoin's going to rip up, again, too soon to say the exact targets, right? But are you going to rather buy here, or are you going to rather buy, like most people aren't going to buy down here. They're super scared, right? And then once this happens, they're not seeing the divergence, right? They're just saying, oh my God, this is all over. I'm never buying this again. And then when do they buy? Oh my God. Probably start buying up here, right? You missed the bottom. So, again, Not financial advice, not guarantees, but this is the way I view the market. And not only the way I view the market, but this is how it plays out. This is how the market moves. So that's my viewpoint, right? Do I think this is the bear market not just starting? Absolutely not, right? Doesn't mean I don't think it can go lower. But this is, in my opinion, a place to look for a bottom. If we end up losing like 47K at the end of the day, is it possible to drop down to 30K? Yes. It's kind of hard, right? Because I'm not someone who looks at this time as different, right? But if something is actually, there's a difference between looking for this time to be different because there are actually things that are different that are valid. And there's a difference between saying this time is different because you want price to go up. This time's different, super cycle, super cycle. I've said this infinite times on my channel, right? People saying this is a higher low. Literally, people here literally saying the bull market is just starting, right? Because I had to fight all these people because I was saying that the down here that the top was very, very likely in, right? We were looking for at least massive drops, right? If not the bear market starting, right? People saying this guy's crazy, the bull market's just starting. Do you not understand market structure, bro? Higher lows, higher highs. This is a higher low. In which case, I very in detail explain why I don't look at that as a higher low, right? Not all higher lows are created equal. You're going to put in higher lows and higher highs, but there's more to the market than that. So eventually, you're going to have a higher low that turns into a break of structure, right? And we can identify this stuff by using the charts. But it's going to be the same stuff at the bottom, right? Bull market's just starting. Bull market's just starting. Wrong. Bull market started down here. Bear market starting. Bear market starting. Told you, bear market starting. Bear market starting. Wrong. Now, if we lose 47K, of course, there is an opportunity to go down to 30K. But until I see that happen, right, it's not my base case, right? I'm not looking down towards 30K yet. But if we wind up in that situation, I'll be the first person to let you know. And then, people will hate me probably. But that's okay, right? I'm not here to be liked, although I do like being liked. I'm here to give valid information, right? Which I think is why a lot of people subscribe to my channel, because they know they're not going to get BS. They're going to get raw information, right? So this value area is slightly different. The one I'm looking at sits at about 55K. It's not super off, right? But once we end up, and the 47K POC sits like right here. So I'll just draw this out, right? If we end up, even if you end up coming down here, right? Let's say you bounce off the 47K POC, right? Are you better off looking for a bottom to form down here? Or are you better off looking for, again, based off everything else we just looked at, right? What if there's another big capitulation? I'm suspicious of that, right? But that doesn't change my long-term view of looking at this as some kind of looking for accumulation to form, right? It's too soon to say right now. But if we got that to happen, yes, price went back down. But of course, again, I'll be looking for those bullish confirmations, right? Look at it from a weekly money flow perspective. It's all the same stuff. Doesn't mean you can't go back down. But for me, again, I'm not interested in catching the exact bottom. I'm interested in accumulating through a weighted dollar cost average viewpoint, right? Am I going to care if I bought some up here and some down here? My average entry price is 57K, and then we go to 200K. Am I going to be pissed off if I buy at 57K versus 48K? Probably not, right? When I bought down here, I bought some Bitcoin down here, right? But my average entry price was 21K. When I rode that $21,000 bag up to technically 108K, but just say up to 126K, did I care that my whole bag wasn't in from 15K? No, right? Because there was no guarantee that I was going to be able to do that. So I'm very happy with how I handled that cycle, right? So I'm just treating this exactly the same way, right? So bottom watch 2026. Not saying you can't go lower, but at this point, especially if people are starting to say that the bear market is just starting, you want to kind of question that. Right now, if we lose 47K, maybe we don't get the bullish confirmations. Again, I don't know exactly what this will look like. Maybe there's a case where you lose the POC and you go down to 30K. That's in the cards. The two kind of scenarios that we've talked about are, these are the main zones, right? I'll just draw them widely. Right? Massive support. If we lose the 47K POC, I would say about 37 to 30K. Best case scenario, we put in an early bottom. And I wouldn't expect it to look exactly like that, but you put in the early bottom, and then if you lose the 47K POC, maybe you go down to 30K. What I will not do is just walk away from the charts and wait for 30K, because guess what? It might not come. So there you go. That's my thought process. I've covered this many a times, but I know we have new people watching the channel every day, so just to kind of give you guys an update of my viewpoint. And maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe I'll, I don't know, maybe I'll lose all my money. Let's see. Shout out to 84 says, Frankie, thank you for the live. See you tomorrow for the latest. Have a blessed night. Jack, y'all take care. Shout out to 84. Appreciate you for being here, brother. Shout out to Darren Does Things in the chat. 30K is the low. Shout out to Kodak. Could be. I just won't sit there and wait for it. What if it's not, right? A lot of people are looking at 150K to be the top, right? People say the same thing about the top. I'm not saying, listen, 150K could have been the top, right? I don't know, right? But once I see those signs that 150K is very likely not coming in, well, I changed my plan, right? If it looked like it was going to 150K, I would hold my bag. If not, well, I wait for the retracement, I sell it, wound up being a good move. But we'll see. I can't say 30K is impossible, and that's just not, trading's not that binary, right? From that kind of perspective, right? It's if this, then that. Dollar cost average, right? Lose 47K, big nuke down to 30, weighted dollar cost average. I mean, you could handle this many different ways. You could stop out of your spot bags and then rebuy at your next key levels. You could weighted dollar cost average. But kind of my overall point here is, like, even here, let's assume we're somewhere here, right? If you think this is the start of the bear market, I mean, it's just kind of like technically not true. But let's just say you're looking at this as the start of the bear market. You're going to be much less likely to be comfortable buying at these lower prices. This is where, like, especially once you, like, get a big capitulation, then another one, it's like, okay, 8K seems likely, right? This is kind of like everyone was looking for 8K. Everyone was looking for, whatever it was. 8K was the big number, right? Just like everyone was looking for 100K up here, they didn't get it. Everyone was looking for 8K here, they didn't get it. You're going to be much less likely to even dollar cost average here because you're thinking like, oh, I was right. The bear market is just starting. We're going to go down forever, right? And then 8K. It's going to dump again. But we'll see. I don't know. 30K would definitely be a big target. I just need to see specific things in order to make that a high probability zone. What is the max pain scenario? When everyone is shouting the bottom is way under, sitting in cash, waiting for the dip. That doesn't come, missing the pump. I guess you're saying that is the max pain scenario, which is exactly what I was going to say. I think the max pain scenario right now, specifically, I'm not saying it's the highest probability, but like I think the biggest max pain scenario right now is the bottom's in. I think that's max pain. I don't even think max pain is another dump. I think max pain right now is send it. I'm not saying I think that's the super high probability to go into new all-time highs, but I think that would be the max pain. I explained this yesterday. I think there's max pain down and max pain up, right? Max pain down is people who round trip their bags up here, miss the top, right? And then price goes down, right? And then there's max pain on the way up. People who just always look for price to continue down, they don't buy in. I think this is a much more painful situation for more people. In a weird way, I think most people would rather lose money than miss out on potential money. I think it's like a psychological thing. I know that's the case for me. Let's see. And then you'd be real pissed when you're 50% in, and then it runs from 49K. I don't know. I mean, at least you'd be partially exposed to the market. That makes it a less painful situation. Shout out to Ahmed. Yeah, I guess super. Yeah, we actually covered this. Super max pain would be, oh my God, I missed the bottom. Then you put in another bottom. If no one's going to buy it down here, it goes up and then down, then people are really not going to buy it. Yeah, that would be super max pain as well, which could be the case, right? Like, if we don't put in a low, let's just say, whatever. If you come in down here first, I think you'd be more primed for a move up. But like at the end of the day, right? Like, market structure is still a thing. Like you're still in a bearish trend, right? So I'm still always going to be interested if you get a move up here, right? We come into $87,000, right? Could this be a lower high before another low comes in? Absolutely. It really depends on what price looks like when we get up there. I just won't know, right? Because I don't have the candles. Shout out to Div X-Ray said, come on, man, tell us when to go all in and we'll listen to you. Shout out to Div X-Ray. I can't do that. I don't want that responsibility, right? Because it's like, it's kind of a, it's just kind of like, I don't know. I just share with what I'm doing, right? Like, I'm not going to, I can't tell anybody what to do, right? Because I don't know their plan, right? Like, if I tell, let's assume the bottom's in, right? I tell everybody, bottom's in. And listen, again, I don't really have like a strong reason to say that just yet. If we have massive bullish divergences down here, I'd be a little bit more confident in that. But if I just said buy right now, right, and then price does this, for me, I would be willing to continue buying on this way down, right? A lot of people get really scared, probably sell the bottom, and then get a move up. And then everyone just gets mad at you, and it's like, I don't know why you're mad, man. I did the same thing and made a bunch of money. But what I can do is I can give you the big key levels, right? And talk about where I'm interested in dollar cost averaging. Dollar cost averaging activated, right? Weighted. If we get a drop down, weighted dollar cost average. I'm buying more as it goes down. Aggressively, somewhat aggressively lowering your, does that make sense? I think everybody kind of gets weighted dollar cost averaging. So this is kind of zone number one. Lose that, right? 47K is the big level. Lose 47K, then you can look down to 30K. I also have a really long-term view on Bitcoin, right? There's a portion of my Bitcoin that I haven't sold, right? I'm mostly out, right, at this point from the bags that I was holding down here. But there's a portion of my Bitcoin that I didn't sell up here, right? There's a portion of my Bitcoin that I'll just hold forever. It's sitting in a safety deposit box in a cold, dusty box somewhere that I'll just never touch, right? I plan on holding it for many, many, many years. Some people don't have that conviction, right? So everybody kind of has a different plan. I don't know everybody's plan. DCA is the way. Yes, absolutely. I'm kind of new in this. Shout out to Carzo. I want to start investing and tried to sign up for Blowfin, but it's not available. You could try. I would try Femex. Femex, a lot of people don't have trouble with. It'll depend on your location. Try Femex. I think if you use our Femex link, I don't think people have problems with Femex. You just might have to try another exchange. More pasta, more sauce. Shout out to Mont. Welcome in, Carzo, by the way. My dad has a GTR. Shout out to Servando Estrada. Should we play that video again? It's my favorite YouTube video ever. If you know, you know. Also dependent on BTC, but they look super bullish. Yeah, I mean, it depends on, it depends on the perspective, right? Like, this is like the hardest part of my job, guys. It's like, this coin looks really bullish, right? And then I look at it, and it looks like trash on the weekly, and I'm like, I don't see what you're seeing, man. He's like, no, I'm looking at the 7-minute. And I'm like, oh, well, that's different, right? Well, 7-minute looks really good, right? But that 7-minute pump isn't going to get you as much. I'm not saying that's the case with altcoins, but, again, with altcoins, my kind of viewpoint here is you have to understand most altcoins don't make it, right? It's like 80% of altcoins don't make it back to their all-time high. I do think we're entering a point in the market where, like, as the asset matures, as Bitcoin's market cap goes up, as there's more altcoins in the market, the liquidity gets spread out across many more coins. It's harder for that liquidity to pump everything. I think personally, not that we're not going to see. I think you're always going to be able to play the game of altcoins. I buy altcoins. I have altcoins. I believe in certain altcoins, but there used to be a time where you could just buy whatever garbage was out there, and if Bitcoin pumped, it like moons. I think gone are those days, right? It was we have so many more altcoins where the liquidity has to spread out across so many coins. It dilutes the market, right? So I think you do have to be, and I think this bull run, this previous bull run, was very painful for people in altcoins because I think a lot of people learned that lesson the hard way. I didn't expect that necessarily to be the case, but I had positioned myself more in the higher cap altcoins, and it wound up being a really good situation. I have altcoins that got absolutely cooked, but they were just a very small portion of my portfolio, and the ones that I did buy did very well. But I think you have to be much more picky with the altcoins that you choose, And you have to understand that most altcoins don't make it back to their all-time high. I'm not in the business of telling people what altcoin to buy. Anytime someone in my personal life is like, what altcoin should I buy? What's the new hot coin? It's like I always just point them in the direction that will much more likely make them money, which is not the get-rich-quick scheme, which is they're just kind of like, nah, I'm just going to buy whatever, Saturn Doge Kitty Skibbity coin. And I'm like, he's like, I heard it's going to 100x. I'm like, all right, man. And then they always regret it. So, you know, altcoins, again, I'm not in the business of telling you what altcoins to buy. I could look at the charts for you, but just overall, like we'll take a look at popular coins like, you know, other outside of like Bitcoin, Solana, and Ethereum, right? Like Cardano, right? Like if you believe in Cardano, is Cardano super expensive right now? Not necessarily, right? I mean, this thing is crushed. Does this look like a super bullish chart? No, obviously it's bearish. But like if you look at this, again, from like a weekly perspective, is this super overvalued? No. Right? You're back down here to your 2022, below your 2022 bear market range. So, you know, again, from a, you know, does it look super bullish? I mean, your money flows super deep in the red. You do have some kind of, I mean, these are aggressive bullish divergences. But again, like if Bitcoin makes another low, you know, the altcoins are probably going to follow, right? Even if Bitcoin's not going to go down to 30K. If Bitcoin puts in another low at like 55K and then say the bottom comes in, or maybe regardless of exactly how it happens, if Bitcoin puts in another low, the altcoins are very, you know, they're going to follow. So, you know, does this look primed for an explosion? You know, there's no saying this isn't the bottom of the money flow wave and it's going to continue up, right? And then, you know, that is the bottom. But, you know, if I had bullish divergences down here, again, this is a super sharp angle. I prefer to see like the bullish divergences a little bit more locally. And then money flow was coming up, right? Then it's like, okay, like we have money flow coming up. We have clear bullish confirmations at the low. Now this looks good for a move to the upside. That would look more bullish to me. But just from like an overvalued, undervalued perspective, I mean, just take it at face value. You're back below your 2022 bear market range. Is this expensive relative to, you know, where we just were? I mean, not really, right? You're back below your value. This would technically, within this recent price action or previous value, you're undervalued. Doesn't mean the bottom's necessarily in. You know, I always have to, you know, people always like, I had like 3 specific people in my life that wanted to buy Cardano like right here. And I was like, I don't know, man. They're like, the bull market's starting. It's all season. I'm like, yeah, but this is like, you've already gotten the move. Like the bear market, like you were supposed to be accumulating down here. That is not the case here. Right? Like, would I nibble? Maybe. But I am also understanding that it could go lower, right? So I plan for that. But, you know, you're not buying the top, that's for sure. So, yeah. You know, I mean, these things have been crushed. But again, we would probably need, for me personally, I would like to see a little bit more of a significant confirmation on Bitcoin, whether that's a new low for a bullish divergence or a sign of strength above, you know, massive resistance, to kind of like, you know, you'll have time to get into altcoins. But if you have conviction in stuff, like if I was a big Cardano guy, I was super convicted, I believed in everything, you know, this would be looking cheap to me. So there you go. Hopefully that makes sense. DCA Brett to 0, brothers. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of people that do that. I heard a skibbity goat. Oh man. Yeah. Again, like in my opinion, like there's time to buy altcoins. I think the best time to buy altcoins is when BTC's weekly money flow is in the green. High cap altcoins, though, yeah, that's my thing, right? Like I'm almost, you know, I'll always gamble a little bit on lower cap altcoins, but again, this is money that I'm not going to miss if it goes to 0, right? I bought. Shout out to whoever said, "Is this the cocky new live launch party?" I bought this, guys. Like I don't. Not everything I touch turns to gold, right? I bought this. I still hold this. It went to 0. But I understand this is a meme coin, right? So the money I put in here is, I don't have a stop loss on this. I'm not going to get wrecked, right? I buy this. If at 100x's, I make a really good amount of money. If it goes to 0, I don't really care, right? I end the live stream. I'm just like, pull up this chart and start crying. But no, really, like like you have to have rules for yourself, right? When I buy this, I'm like, hey, maybe it'll moon. If not, I'm willing to take that risk and lose the money. I know there's a chance this thing could go to zero. I take that risk, right? Shout out to Wick 589 said Mrs. Candles probably DCA's into XRP. Mrs. Candles has crypto, obviously. We had the conversation many years ago. I said, if you don't buy into this stuff, it's not going to work. If you don't believe in crypto, you don't believe in me. So she does hold crypto. Mrs. Candles, speaking of hands, is the biggest diamond hand out there. Mrs. Candles bought crypto in like 2020, maybe like early 2021, and she hasn't sold. All her bags are up. Now, obviously, she's not buying the top and selling the bottom, which obviously she's not a trader, so she just doesn't care. She put money in. She's making money. She's going to hold it for 15 years. Maybe it'll all go to zero. But I try to get her to sell sometimes. I'm like, hey, might want to sell. And she's like, you're... This is like, I try to keep this family friendly. But she goes, nah, you're weak, bro. You're weak. I'm never selling. I'm like, all right. We'll see. Maybe she'll be laughing in the end. But she's up on everything. She's like, this entire bear market, she's like still up. Crazy. Yeah, Mrs. Candles has, I mean, she doesn't have bad stuff. She has, I think she mostly has she's got, actually, no, one coin she does have that's, I think she has Chainlink, Ethereum, Solana. I don't know if she has Solana. She has Chainlink, Ethereum, XRP, XLM, which she's up on, by the way, because she bought it so long ago. I think she did have some Atom, which I think she's got to be down on. I might be the only one she's in the red on. I'm gonna look at her portfolio tonight. I'll let you guys know. But she holds a few altcoins. She also holds Bitcoin as well. Family-friendly answer. Yeah. Diamond hands all the way. Yeah, she's like, I don't know. I think a lot of people say they're diamond hands. Funny enough, Mrs. Candles over here, like the goat of diamond handing. Don't you think we have to get to the point where everybody who's up on stuff, where people who are up on everything capitulate? I think at this point, a majority of people are underwater. Because you have to understand, like, especially when it comes to smart money, they're handing off their stuff to people who are willing to buy, right? So it's like a lot of people will dump their bags on pushes up, right? So it's like, you get the big capitulations, but, I mean, there's your big capitulation. I mean, look at, we'll go back to Cardano. Like, there's your big capitulation. I think I would have to assume that most holders on most coins are underwater. I'm sure you could probably find that information somewhere. Shout out to Sandra. Thank you for the super chat. Said, way to go, Mrs. Candles. Let's go. Shout out to Mrs. Candles. Hang on one sec, guys. Okay, guys, it's not looking good. I think she's underwater on everything. I got to cover her up here. She's totally deflated here, guys. She's wow. Yikes. Bear market not treating Mrs. Candles very well. Good God. No, Phoebe, don't chew on her. Oh, God. Phoebe's gnawing on her limp feet. Oh, God. Anyway, I need a submarine. Shout out to Dylan. Are you trying to make money to buy a submarine? That's pretty fire. I'll be honest, guys. Like, I've never been on a submarine. I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't bother me. But I'm not going to lie. I feel like if I was in a submarine, I'd be a nervous wreck. I don't know if I'd like that. What if it's got a leak? I don't know. Submarines kind of freak me out. I personally think we get one more pump along with TradFi trying to keep the stock market up, then final capitulation down along with the stock market crash. Plausible. Shout out to Andy Martini. Mrs. Candles is wrecked. Yeah, she is cooked. Now Phoebe's going to put another hole in her foot. She's never going to get reinflated. Anyway. Check Pepe. I want him to check Pepe the Frog. I want him to leap. Let's take a look at Pepe real quick. Well, there you go. Lost the key for PP. We lost it. It was obviously the 786. If we wanted to hold a higher low to see a higher high to get back in this range, obviously that 786 was going to be very important to hold. We didn't hold it. We're rejecting it currently. Obviously, this we could take off the chart at this point. You got a daily down here at about 274. Fill the wick into the daily? Maybe. I mean, again, I who knows? Is this thing going to make it back? Maybe. I don't know. You probably got a massive fair value gap in here. Yeah, where would the fair value gap be? I'm not a fair value gap guy, but it's probably like all. Let's see. Can we get a fair value gap indicator? Weekly fair value gap. There it is. You're filling the fair value gap. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would kind of look for here is you do have a daily. This is not financial advice, guys. Maybe a SFP into the daily. You would also be printing weekly bullish divergences. Again, not financial advice, but I don't know. It's got a massive move to the downside. You SFP this wick, maybe you can catch a little bit of a bounce back up. Again, depending on how low that goes, like maybe close to a retest of this anchored VWAP. But yeah, I mean your next level of support would be sitting down here at the daily. And again, we don't look at Pepe very often. I'll just kind of make this a little more visible. But what I will do here is next time we check on this and dust off the old chart, SFP October wick. That'd be like kind of the only thing I'd be interested in. Not that I would be interested in it, but if I were to trade this, right, like I would probably be looking for something like that from a higher time frame. 2-week money flow crossing into the red, and then the monthly VWAP kind of just chilling below. So we'll see. I mean, your next level is definitely sitting down here at the daily. I guess technically you're holding on to a daily right now. So I would say this is confluent with a 786. It'll give you a nice line in the sand. If you lose 340, I'd be looking down here. Contrary to that, maybe you hold this. But again, money flow is in the red. I mean, it's not looking primed or anything like that. I would be more interested in something like that, right? Maybe get the SFP, little daily bullish divergence, something like that. Again, not saying that I would personally be interested in that, but yeah, I mean, if this doesn't hold, the only thing underneath you is going to be that daily. And then you could also look at that as a fill the wick situation. Come sweep out that low, and then maybe get a reaction from that. So there you go. That's what I look at on Pepe. Pepe is dead. Not even the next bull market can save it. Yeah, definitely possible. Definitely possible. Screw submarines. Shout out to Rudy. Yeah, I don't have like a fear of submarines. I just feel like if I went into one, I might develop a fear for submarines. I don't know. It's not a claustrophobia thing. I don't care about tight spaces. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like I'd rather be in a plane than a submarine. Because, like, I don't know. What was the name of that? What was the submarine that just, like, killed all those billionaires? Or not just. What the heck was the name of that? That was, like, the biggest thing ever. How can I forget this? Somebody let me know. What was the submarine that imploded? That is definitely wouldn't be going into some, like, sketchy, privately owned submarine Titanic tour either. I'd go in, like, a military submarine maybe. Oh, you know another thing that I see people talking about, and someone actually brought up on the live stream recently, was the 3-day death cross, which has happened. And historically, I'm going to mark off all these 3-day death crosses. All right, so we got the one here. One here. One here. One here. It does, for what it's worth. Again, this is not really something that I trade, but these 3-day death crosses have a 100% hit rate for more downside. This one wound up dropping you 54%. This was a different animal back here. This one ended up bringing you down 52%. This one ended up bringing you down. I'll pull it from the cross. Initially 42%, then 50%, so about an average of a 50%. Cross right here. Maybe that's your argument for 37K. 30K. That would line up. Again, it's one thing. Another thing that we can look at on these other death crosses is yeah. Again, still stands true with bear market starting or whether you should start to be looking for bottoms. Kind of the same thing. It's very similar to the weekly money. It's almost like the same thing as the weekly money flow crossover. Yeah, eerily close to the. It might be right in line with the 6-day money flow crossovers. Yeah, another thing. Yeah, two-week money flow crossovers have always indicated come in after the bottom is in. So we'll see. I mean, it does have a 100% hit rate. Doesn't mean it has to play out. But that could be part of the, when you just kind of build out your list of evidence here. And again, it doesn't really change the fact that, this would be the time to start looking for bottoms. Again, can it go lower? Of course, right? Maybe that three-day death cross is something to look at for it to go lower. But still wouldn't be the start of the bear market, in my opinion, right? I'd be much more interested in looking for bottoms to form, right? Again, not going all in here. But yeah, that might be something to look at. Little rally, capitulation. At that point, even if you bought your whole bag there, you're essentially buying the bottom. Capitulation. If you were buying here, you're basically buying the bottom. Capitulation. Yeah, it's almost like the same thing that we just looked at. Question is it going to give you the 50% dump or not? The problem I really have with that is at that point, right, you would be at 30K, you'd be down 55% from the previous all-time high, which has never happened, right? In 2022, you went 21% below the all-time high. This, you never went below the all-time high. So that would just be like an aggressive drop below the all-time high. But, of course, it is a target. That is something that lines up. If you're looking for 30K, that 3-day, if you get the same drop of, 50-ish%, that would be your – and, again, I would look at that as like one more last capitulation. So we'll see. We'll see. Again, dollar cost average is the way, guys. I would never – DCA is the way. Shout out to Gen Z said, what if we have a weekly money flow fake out and it goes to 250K? No, that would be that'd be wild. I don't know. What if? That'd be insane. Still bing-bonging around here on the lower time frames. Set an alert here. We went lower than the all-time high. Yeah, by like, what did I say, 12%, 20%? That's what I just looked at. What was it? Yeah, 21%. Again, not that it has to play out the same. Yeah, that would bring you more into like the 55K area. We've never gone 50%. This is honestly the only time that we really dipped below the previous all-time high. Again, you don't have like, even on Bitcoin, right? Like over throughout the whole history, you don't have a ton of cycles to look at. So yeah, I mean, it's just not binary. You can't say it can't go 50%. You can't say it has to go 21%. Just something to look at. What I go off of, guys, is weekly money flow crossover, big capitulation. I'm on bottom watch. Not, oh my God, the bottom has to be in. I'm on bottom watch. One more capitulation, I'm probably aggressively looking to continue to DCA in, right? Weighted dollar cost average. Yeah, shout out to Dylan. This is something I used to talk about all the time. He said, from a macro perspective, we have rates coming down, quantitative easing, and money starting to be printed. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too, right? Like if, let's just say, where's May, right? In May, if Trump's new Fed chair comes in, right, and he just winds up massively money printing, that is historically good for risk on assets, right? That is going to be a new piece of information, right? That could be something that would line up with the fact that maybe the more bullish case does play out, right? And that's kind of like scenario number one from a not just a TA perspective, but like incorporating the macro as well. It's like, here's your first zone, right? Maybe that's where like the early bottom comes in, right? And then they start printing money. If they start printing money, guys, it's very likely going to be good for risk on assets. That just is a fact. I would not be saying, oh my God, they're printing crazy money, but the 4-year cycle, right? I'm not married to the 4-year cycle. Although I can't argue, I think 4-year cycles are, I think it works well. I mean, you can't really argue it hasn't worked well. I covered this constantly, right? These obviously have rhymed very closely with each other time and time again. But again, if something is truly different, right? Not just, oh my God, we have to go up because bullish, right? If we actually have some real information on the chart giving us a reason, legitimate information that could change things, then that could change things. That's why I look at the kind of more bullish case like this. And then if the 4-year cycle were to play out, it's very simple. If that were to be the case, then that could, we could see an early bottom, right? If we just track along with the 4-year cycle, if you just want to follow the 4-year cycle, again, you have to make a decision for yourself. Nobody knows, right? You might listen to some people who believe in just the 4-year cycle. You might listen to some people who are more kind of tied to like how the market moves, looking for accumulation, stuff like that. That's kind of more like my style. But it's either option one, if you want the 4-year cycle to repeat, well, then it would just be 30K, right? Because both of those, like that lines up perfectly. If the 4-year cycle is going to repeat perfectly, 28 to 30K is going to be that target. Right. If it repeats exactly like the previous cycles, it would pretty much look, if it looks exactly the same, I'll just pull it from the top to the next bull run, right? It would look something like that, right? Come on down to, and of course I'd have to stretch this out a little bit. I have to stretch it out a little more. All right, try to get it to line up somewhat. Right, that would look, 4-year cycle repeats, which it has in the past. That's what you're looking at. I just don't only listen to the 4-year cycle, right? Would it make me like, this would just kind of be like, oh, wow, that's crazy. It just, repeated, right? This is an option. Option number one would be the early bottom based off actual new information coming into the market. If not, 4-year cycle. Lose your value area high, lose your PLC, probably headed down towards about 30K. It's many different scenarios. I'm not here to call exactly what's going to happen. I just share with you guys what I'm doing and what's worked for me in the past. Which, of course, weekly money flow in the red. Time to start looking for bottoms. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you look at the 4-year cycle RSI, we're at the bottom, which is more. This is why I am not looking. I'm not saying, oh, guys, bear market just starting. We're going down to 30K. That's why I'm not looking down there right now. Is it an option? Yes, right? Just like 12 and 14K was an option here. But once we saw the bullish divergences on the RSI and the market cipher B with the money flow coming up, it was very likely those targets weren't going to get hit, right? So is it a valid target at 30K? Yes. Is there an argument to be made there? Absolutely. But for me, right, I'm more of a technical trader, right? So like when I see the signs, when I see that RSI, we actually just looked at this. Shout out to the real PG. When I see that stuff, historically, it doesn't mean you're near a bottom, right? Oversold RSI doesn't mean the bottom. It hasn't meant the bottom is in necessarily. I guess I will just pull the RSI back up, right? Oversold RSI doesn't mean the bottom has to be in. You could still make another low, but you're much better off looking for a bottom to form, right? Because this can put in a higher low, price can still make a lower low, and then you get your divergence. That's a really strong signal, right? Look at 2022. Oversold RSI, right? Like, quote unquote, are you at the bottom? Pretty much. Does price still make a lower low? Yes, right? But overall, when you have this viewpoint, there's your bullish divergence, right? So that's why I'm more inclined. That's why I say I am looking for bottoms here. I'm looking for bottoms. At no point have we ever been oversold on the RSI and then price dumped another 50%, right? Price is going down. Momentum is coming up, right? That is your divergence. Right? Well, if we get it, right? That is an actual discrepancy between the momentum and your price action. That's what I personally look at. That's why I'm interested down here. Maybe something totally different happens, right? We all know that's possible. Again, I go with my base case is based off the charts, which is why I go with this scenario. But if this time is totally different, maybe this will be the first time ever that we're oversold on the RSI, and then we just dump down 50%. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe we just go like super, super oversold, more oversold than we've ever been. Maybe. But again, that's not my base case. Possible? Yes. My base case? No. Local value area high and 2024 value area high. If we break below 70K, what's the probability we see 60K? I think you're talking about this. I actually covered the local levels in the beginning of the stream. This will come back into play once. Right? If you go back, you can go back to the beginning of the stream and watch kind of the plan there. If we end up getting the bigger drop down and we lose this 786 around 65K, that's where I would be interested in a higher probability of eventually coming back down to the lows. Right? Until then, money flow coming up on the 10-hour, I'm open to higher lows and higher highs to break into the low volume gap. Go back to the beginning of the stream. I cover it in extensive detail. Bottom confirmation when you see weekly divergences. Yeah, that's what I was looking at last cycle. It wound up being the exact bottom. Now, there's obviously, there was a chance that didn't happen, right? There was a chance that didn't play out, right? It just happened to be like, of course, we knew that it would be if it did happen, if this, then that. If we get the weekly bull div, bottom's probably in, right? But there was a chance that, that didn't happen, right? We just happened to have it play out there. So again, but it's not me waiting for that. If I didn't get that weekly bull div, I still would have had an entry price. So let's just say we wiggled sideways here. I would have still had a very similar entry price, right? Because I was already dollar cost averaging in. I'm not waiting for that div to buy. Hopefully that makes sense. Shout out to Hazelwood, said, Frankie, for taxes, do you have to... You brought up a sore subject, man. I was talking about this yesterday. Do you have to provide a full list of your trades taken on an exchange? KSX doesn't let you download CVs. Wondering how you handle this tax stuff. So for me, I am not an accountant. I am not a tax professional. I'm not going to give you any kind of tax advice whatsoever. My advice to you is to do what I did, which is hire a good accountant. I can't give you any. Not only am I not a tax professional? I hate taxes. It's so confusing. It's so in detail. It's so annoying. you hit a sore spot there, bro. I'm dealing with tax stuff right now. It's so obnoxious. Hire a good accountant, and they'll be able to guide you. I don't want to give you any kind of information because I have really no knowledge, legitimate knowledge. Anything I tell you could be wrong. So I would just get a good accountant, get someone who's like familiar with crypto. If your CPA is like, what do you mean wallet? Get somebody else, in my opinion. You want to get somebody who knows crypto, at least somewhat. Shout out to Erica in the chat. Welcome in, Erica. Shout out to Spinner Trade. Said, yo, not trying to be annoying. Could you check the macro TI I sent in the BTC TA channel? All good if not, but I just wanted to see your opinion on it. Shout out to Spinner Trades. Due to Frankie Candle's policy, I cannot do that. Somebody in the chat will tell you why. But unfortunately, I can't. Also, and I would just have to do that for everybody. Everybody would want me to do it. It's just like not sustainable. But if you want to kind of let me know what you're looking at, I can give you an idea in the chat. But yeah, I did that once. Did not end well. Oh, shout out to everybody that was there for the holiest stream of them all. Let's take a look here locally. Let's see something here. Let's pull this to current price action. Might kick that value area up a little bit. Still just barely front running it. Ooh, 10-hour coming back into the red. Of course, not an instant signal there, right? We're obviously still trending. But yeah, we'll see what we get here. If you're just tuning in, scrub to the beginning of the stream. I kind of cover my overall plan here locally. But I would like... actually see this pulled to the impulse. Yeah, we haven't hit the impulse fib. I would really like to kick back down in here. Not that you can't pump from here or just get a bigger retracement, but this is kind of the key level. Can you front run it and get a big move up? You could. But again, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, more often than not, I like to see those key levels tapped. If I don't see them tapped, then I go over the whole trading plan at the beginning of the stream. It was like the first thing I went over. Shout out to the real PG says, I just did all my taxes with Claude. I'm not going to lie. It's getting to a point where I would trust the AI with my taxes. Not financial advice, not tax advice. Just was looking at a wave C target at 52K bottom, or it could turn into a 1, 2, 3, 4 and dump again after 52K bounce to 31K, lines up with high volume nodes and support resistance flips too. That's one thing, right? Like the Elliott waves. I'm not a big Elliott wave guy, not because I don't think they work. Honestly, if there's one thing I would like to eventually incorporate more into my analysis, it would be Elliott waves, but I just don't do it right now. Could be possible. I mean, if it's lining up with high volume nodes, it's probably lining up with a lot of the key levels that I'm looking at. But yeah, kind of just a different way to view the market, to be honest. But again, if it's lining up with those high volume nodes, very, very likely it's going to be lining up with a lot of my key levels. Power hour, it could pump. Well, let's see. I'll give you some of the local levels to the upside here. Green dot printing on the 1 hour. 2 hour green dot coming on the way, maybe. So you got your 7-minute money flow. Bull divs at the low. The only problem I have there is, what are you bouncing off of here? I'll pull up the scalp levels. I have this little volume profile. Again, this is like super hyper local. Yeah, you can look at this. I mean, super local, guys. 7-minute money flow going to come up. If you get the continuation of the trend, I would look at it through the view of this volume profile. Value area high sitting at about 71,859. Flip that to support. Maybe push into that Fibonacci retracement that we talked about earlier in the stream. Retest this upper value area low. This sits between 72,433 and 72,937. But again, this 2-day VWAP is cooking. You got the 16-hour red dot. 1 hour money flow looking a little wonked. 45-minute money flow, right? So for my plan, could you bounce from here? Are you bouncing off of nothing? I mean, technically you're bouncing off local support. Could the low be here? Again, maybe. Anything is possible. But for me, again, maybe I take a local trade if we play around in here. I get some kind of confirmation. You do have bull divs. But I would really like to see, the bigger level. This could just end up being with the 16-hour red dot, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. I'm much more interested. Like the next big key level to the downside I'm interested in is, of course, the level I brought up before. Sitting right here. We just barely front ran it, to be honest. Like 70,500 down to about 69,624. I would love that. You have the single prints down there, which do act as support until they don't. Right? Here they are. Right. If you're able to break back into these, they very likely will fill very quickly. It's like a low volume gap. You could bounce off a low volume gap. Once you get accepted into them, that's where you see the bigger drop down. This does fill right into that golden pocket, though. That's kind of what I like about this. All right. Fill the single prints into that golden pocket. That's why I like that support. 786 comes down to these other like small single prints down to about 68.8. Right down to the 786. Once you lose that 786, can't get out of the value area. I'm looking at the POC. Lose the POC. We're looking down to the low again. I covered that whole trading plan for the short that I'm in from the top in the beginning of the stream, so just go scrub back and watch that. But overall, like other than these like super local scalp levels, I am more interested in this level. Are you pushing into local support right now? Yes. Do I like this level better? Yes. So we'll see what happens. How much time do we have on this? We got 3 hours and 30 minutes on the 16-hour red dot. Daily VWAP also curving down. 12-hour red dot still not printing just yet. So we'll see. I would just really prefer that. More often than not, you will hit those key levels. Again, if you want to take a long, right, I can't tell you not to take longs, right? If you want to take a long on the front run, that's totally fine. I just personally don't do that. I'm also okay missing moves, right? When I miss a move, I just don't care. This is actually recently, I've kind of been getting cooked on my long entries. Not cooked, but just like missing them. I'm just not on the chart, right? Missed the long, caught the short. I didn't make money here. It doesn't matter. I have a skill that I can find money in the market every day, right? I didn't catch the move here. I was able to catch the move down. I missed the move. I caught the move, right? So I'm just okay missing moves. I'm not going to FOMO, but I am interested in longs. I just would really like to see that key level tapped. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe we get the front run. 80K by Monday. Yeah, I do think, right, from an overall perspective, if this 10-hour money flow stays in the green, or at least, like, whatever, maybe you fake out into the red, but, like, as long as we can keep this trending to the upside and we can get back into the green here, I am interested in higher lows and higher highs. If it doesn't happen in here, right, we break into the high, I'm looking to go down to the POC, Line in the sand there would be the 786 at 68.8, right? The PLC is going to be interesting. I want to see the reaction here. There's not a lot of confluence here. I do prefer, if you lose that PLC, I'll simply be looking down to the value area low. Right? There's three major areas. When you have a nice breakout here, my thought process is money flow is coming up. This could indicate the trend. Again, money flow indicates the trend. Red and green dots indicate the ebbs and the flows. This and this. Right? So when I have money flow coming up, I am looking at these as lackluster for higher lows and higher highs. Right? Doesn't mean I'm instantly just going to take a position for no reason, right? But I'm interested in looking for long positions at those levels. And the volume profile with the confluence gives me very clear areas to look at that for, or gives me clear areas to look at for that to happen, which would be value area high, breakdown here, POC, honorable mention. Again, I would like to see the reaction here because there's not as much confluence. Once you lose that POC, I'll simply look to go down to the value area low. That's the last place I'd be interested in looking. Once we wind up losing that, that's where I think, this would just be like a fake out for a new low. But until then, higher lows and higher highs. I am interested in this with money flow coming up on the higher time frames. And in that case, right, if it's going to be lower high or higher low, higher high. Have I said lower high, higher low? Higher low, higher high. Break back above this high, I think, 80K is the next major target, right? So if everything goes nicely here, money flow continues up, we can look for that higher high, major target at about 79 to 80K. I like that target. Massive low volume gap in here. Until then, we'll just have to look at the kind of local scenario here and see if we're going to hold this or break back down. Money flow bias is to the upside. Shout out to Gen Z, said, I exited all my trades. Reason why? I feel I need to build more confidence into my entry point and psychological entries too. I got a W, not holding it. I need more confidence. Shout out to Gen Z. I don't know if you mean a W as in you made money or a W as in you closed that trade because you might have not entered it for the right reasons. Either way, sounds like a dub. Maybe you exited it early, but in profit. If so, great trade, bro. NVIDIA weekly blood diamond. Confirmed. Now, these are not necessarily the same, or they don't seem to play out the same as on Bitcoin. Weekly blood diamonds on Bitcoin are very far and few between. I actually, the first one we ever had was right here, right? That was one of the big reasons why we looked for that big capitulation down on top of everything else we looked at. Almost the same stuff we looked at here, minus the blood diamond. We got another one here, which did end up giving us a massive drop down. So they have, we don't have a lot of history to look at because, again, this was the first one. But on NVIDIA, right, you can kind of look it back. I mean, this one played out very dramatically with money flow coming out. This one didn't really play out that much. Still, decent drops. Still, obviously, a bearish sign. This one, you got one more last little lower high before coming down. It is there. It is there. So we'll see. Let me see the daily money flow here. Money flow on the daily turning red. Of course, this does behave a little differently than Bitcoin. It's less, volatile in the short term. But it is definitely there. Not as much as like a thunder striking, oh my God, as it is when they pop up on Bitcoin, just because historically they've been terrible for Bitcoin. But we have less things to look at, right? But it is there. Money flow technically coming out on the weekly as well. But again, mass money flow does tend to, weekly blood diamond, money flow crossover, boom. You're not as close for a crossover here, but there it is. You got two important anchored VWAPs here between about 135.69 and 121.53. Shout out to, I don't know how to say that. Shout out to Am. Says, love from Jordan. Looks like I came late. Shout out to you, brother. No problemo. We're still here. What are my thoughts on SPX or the SP? Let's take a look at the SPY. I mean, I'll be honest. Every time I look at the stock, I mean, this... I remember back in, back here, it's like, this just looks like gravity wants to do its thing. It's like you're holding a... I don't know. It's almost like the weight of this overextension just wants to break, right? It looks very similar here. Just from a structure perspective. But taking a look at it from an actual technical perspective, money flow on the daily is finally crossing red after trending out for quite some time. And, throughout this entire push up, you've had generally higher highs with generally lower highs on your momentum and your money flow. So, last time you had it's really hard, right? Because it's not, money flow works on every asset. It's just, I'm so used to looking at it on Bitcoin. Obviously, the stock market moves much differently than Bitcoin. So it does behave a little differently. But, we've been in the green for quite some time. Last time we got a significant crossover into the red, I would say is right here. You get like one last double top before eventually just continuing the downtrend. Back here, significant crossover, lower high, lower low. So it does behave the same way, right? Money flow crosses into the red. Money flows in the red. You're looking for lackluster bounces, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. All right, just continuing that downtrend. Could be maybe the start of something like that. Again, I just don't have my thumb on the pulse of this like I do on Bitcoin because it's not what I look at every single day. I check in on this. Obviously, Bitcoin will track a lot of the time with the stock market. But you get the money flow crossover in the red on the daily, right? This could potentially indicate a downtrend continuing. And again, just like kind of looking at this massive green wave, massive continuation up. As you continue up, money flow comes out. A little bit of divergence there. See if we have this kind of... bro. This looks so scammy, bro. This is just like, oh man, the biggest scam in history. But you do also have like confirmed weekly bearish divergences here. Again, it's like the structure's super weird. But let's check the monthly. Monthly red dot, or I'm sorry, monthly. Yeah, you do have the monthly bearish divergence as well, which we've marked out before. Higher highs, lower highs, money flow trying to come out here. So we'll see if that daily money flow can give you a continuation of that downtrend. One thing I can say is if we're going to get another capitulation on Bitcoin, if the stock market decides to, very likely that Bitcoin will go ahead and continue in the same direction. All right. Bitcoin just continuing down here, but I've gone over my trading plan. We talked about the short, covered this last night, looking for the failed auction, ended up getting it. So we'll see what happens. You guys have my next major areas of interest and exactly what I'll be looking at. If we don't get the bounce there, my exact plan for the way down, the line in the sand for this to just be a total fake out for a massive move down. But as of right now, to be explicitly clear, money flow trending up. 12 hour and 16-hour red dots could give you a little bit more of a push down, but overall, money flow indicates the overall trend. If we see these crossovers, higher lows and higher highs are what I'll be looking for on the way down. And if it fails and we lose 65K and dump, again, if I close this trade right now, I'd be happy with it. I still have my shorts running from higher. But until then, those are my big areas of interest. And if you scrub back to the beginning of the stream, you'll get absolute detail on that. I just don't want to be super repetitive here for people who have been hanging around the whole time. Frankie's the man. Shout out to Joe. Appreciate you, Joe. Joey, I call him. Joey Two Shoes. Yeah, SPY's got the weirdest chart out there. Yes, for sure. Slim Shift Media in the chat. Welcome in, brother. Welcome in. There's possibility of a correction. I wonder if that will be the catalyst to make BTC go. Shout out to Lyndon. Yeah, kind of just exactly what I looked at there. Kind of front ran you on that, or maybe you front ran me. But yeah, that's what we're looking at, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you. Don't forget to smash that like button on the way out. If you guys are looking for a place to trade, check the links in the description down below. Smash that like button, smash that like button, smash that like button. I haven't said that in so long on the during the live streams. I used to like shill the likes like crazy, but just gets exhausting after a while. But thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll be here back with you tomorrow. And yeah, mark off these key levels on your chart, and we'll see if we can get that high time frame money flow to continue into the green for a bigger move to the upside. I'm gonna go head to the gym. That's all I got. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the roll, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming on my landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like, yeah, you about to see me on demand like, you know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the roll, here we go, yeah, at the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know, yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah, on the roll, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the roll, here we go, yeah, at the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know, yeah, maxed out.